Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com, and I encourage everyone, as you out there at allamericangold.com, so many things, articles, videos that we never, ever get to. Scroll down. Check out Martin Armstrong's interview with USA Watchdog. We briefed it yesterday, but briefed it. There is so much more in there. All our podcast, all that. So we got so much stuff out there. We hardly ever talk about it, but make sure you check that out. A lot of great information. Make it part of your daily routine to keep you in the know. And Jason, it's been a wild year. Obviously, the headlines this week kind of moved away, if you will, from economic data with what was happening with the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, and it definitely seems to have people fired up. And it's going to be interesting how this plays out as the midterm elections roll in. I got to believe the Democrats may have overplayed their hand on this one.
I don't know. Joe Biden says we have 0% inflation.
I was actually listening to Kevin LaRusso, the show he's on right before us. He actually played the clip. I saw the headline.
Oh, I saw it. It's blatant.
So Kevin played it. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? This is the president of the United States. He came out and said there was good news. There was 0% inflation. And then he went on to say, Jason, what it means is, hey, some things went up, but other things went down.
Yeah, it all balances off. It's because gasoline went down a little bit.
By the way, I don't want, I'm just telling you, gasoline prices are not going to stay here. Goldman Sachs out today says $5 gas will be back before the end of the year. And that's really not a stretch. It's really when you look at inventory numbers. I know and again, a lot of people starting to question all of these numbers. I know Robobank was out yesterday. It was pretty comical. What they were saying, zero inflation. They talked about the inflation reduction bill, that they're calling, which is really, think about what that bill really is. That's just a huge, huge increase in tax enforcement. That's really what's in that bill. A bunch of spending on green energy, a bunch of spending on the IRS. Oh, and we're going to tax corporations more. And again, I'm not saying that corporations shouldn't be taxed more, right? Here's the problem with the tax code. They've created so many loopholes that a lot of companies, because of these loopholes, can avoid paying a bunch of taxes. Now, some of these loopholes maybe aren't necessarily bad loopholes. Hey, we're going to build a plant. We're going to create jobs. We're going to, things that could stimulate, so I could understand it. But if we would just stop playing all these games, get rid of all this stuff, get rid of all the loopholes, get rid of all the tax breaks, we wouldn't even need an IRS, Jason.
Yeah, actually, if you eliminate federal income tax, which shouldn't be there, there would be no reason to collect the taxes. Just get rid of the federal income tax law which was passed conveniently in the same year that the Federal Reserve Act was passed. You have to have the collection arm for the loan shark, right?
Most people don't realize. Do you know that we've been setting records for tax collection? Records. We've never collected more. And guess what? The problem is it's never enough, right? The more we collect, they end up. It seems like this is kind of how the math works. Whatever we increase in collection, we double or triple the amount of spending, right? I mean, it's a never-ending game. It's like all these every time in local elections, there's a school override, and it's like, when have you finally collected enough money? It never ends.
Yeah, the whole thing about taxing is it never really solves the problems. It should be a consumption tax. If anything, if you need to raise money for your local fire department or whatever, it should be local consumption tax. It's really easy, Joe, because then the citizens can vote in how high it should be. In Colorado we have Tabor, and we got the little thing going on where Jared Polis is claiming that he's the one that helped to get us these refunds from Tabor, the thing he's been trying to destroy since he's been governor. He wants more taxes, but Tabor stops him from doing it. So he's been adding fees to our taxes called fees, and then suddenly Tabor is giving refunds because how the law is written, and he's standing on top saying, "Oh, this is me." Re-elect Jared Polis because I'm the one that's giving you money back.
Yeah. Well, how about this? We got notification from the FCC licensing. So every year we pay. It's a pretty significant amount if you own a radio station. And 13% increase. I guess Joe Biden missed that, no inflation.
Yeah. I mean, he's missing a lot. I hope he's getting paid a lot to play that part he's been playing. He's really
you know what?
bad.
I don't even think he's playing the part. He's just a huckleberry, right? I mean, come on. He was never the sharpest tool in the shed to begin with. And now let's face it, he's old. He's old. His cognitive abilities are diminishing. I don't even know that he's acting. He probably actually believed what he said the other day.
Well, that's kind of the thing that people try to understand. Does he even say things that he knows, or is he just reading it and has no idea what he's doing? So I don't know. I think he used to know what was going on. It seems like nowadays he doesn't know what's going on, Joe.
Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour. Pretty much everything mostly up today. Gold's up today. Silver's up today. The Dow is not a lot, but the Dow's up 100. Bond yields are a little lower, 2.86 on bond yields this morning. A couple of pretty big announcements that we need to be aware of. First, Turkey. Turkey has agreed to pay Russia in rubles for their natural gas. And, Turkey's a pretty big country. They get over half of their gas from Russia. So, again, the importance of this is most of this was being paid for in euros or dollars. Now just Turkey's going to, once again, Jason, right, diversify and make sure they have rubles on hand, which means less dollars, less euros at a time when, got to remember, we still haven't gotten to maximum quantitative tightening. That won't occur until next month. So all these countries moving away from dollars, moving away from euros, is going to put more pressure on these bond markets, which are already significantly inverted. But then today, news out about Saudi Arabia and China coming to a major agreement in a multi-pronged memorandum of understanding that was signed today between Saudi Arabia's oil company, Saudi Aramco, and China's largest oil company, in a critical step here, where now China is once again reaffirming, Jason, it is a major economic player in Saudi Arabia, and really, we don't actually import a lot of Saudi. We import some Saudi Arabian crude, but not what China's doing. And now they've reached a memorandum of understanding here. Looks like this relationship, we keep watching this relationship, as we talked about, what was it, a week or so ago. It looks like China, India, Brazil, and Russia have been wooing Saudi Arabia, Turkey, right, to join BRICS. Yeah,
Saudi Arabia never really was, a major importer to the United States. I guess they're major, but they're not, they could be taken out as far as needing the oil. You can rearrange it. But the whole, the petrodollar is all about, them selling their oil in dollars. That's the key to that agreement. Hey, you can go blow up your neighbors. We'll give you some weapons, and you just sell all your oil in dollars. That was the deal. And well, that's a 50-year-old deal. Sometimes these things don't age well, and Saudi Arabia looking like they like Russia and China more now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the United States has already responded that they're reaffirming their commitment to the Middle East. And again, you got to follow the money. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking through. I don't have all the details on the memorandum of understanding. I'm looking for, and I don't see it, which is I'm going to say is a good thing at least right now. How China is going to pay, but it does look like China has offered to buy a 5% stake in Saudi Aramco, and of course that's a valuation. That company's worth $2 trillion. But is there going to be an announcement soon that China is going to start being allowed to purchase Saudi crude using renminbi? That's going to be, I think, if we see this announcement come next, this is the first step. They're entering an agreement. Saudi Aramco is going to be allowed to buy into several Chinese refiners. It looks like China is going to be allowed to buy into Saudi Aramco. Obviously, the next step in this relationship, Jason, would be like, hey, let's stop using dollars.
Let's stop using dollars is something we're going to be hearing more and more and more every single month, every single year that goes by. This really is the next massive crash. It could be the non-usage of dollars, Joe. This could be what's happening. I mean, China, what's going on in China with property. I watched another video. It's when dollars stop getting used and Chinese property is being foreclosed on, and their property problem is much worse than our property problem. This is going to cause a cataclysmic crash on a worldwide scale, Joe. And the only place you can spend dollars is going to be here. It's almost like they can raise rates all they want, and the inflation may never stop if all the dollars come home to roost at the same time. I mean, what can they really do, Joe? It's almost like Russia and China know that this is the play to gain power right now.
These are things that are complicated because people quite don't understand. But what Jason's talking about is if they don't buy it, right? If Saudi Arabia doesn't buy dollars, if China doesn't buy dollars, if Turkey doesn't buy dollars, Russia's not buying dollars. That means somebody else has to buy them because the debt's got to roll over, which means the likelihood is the people that are buying them are already here. That's coming back here. As we know, China doesn't even own $1 trillion of treasuries anymore. And again, this step to me, this memorandum of understanding where they're allowing each other to buy into each other's state-run companies, just says to me the next step is, oh, by the way, we're going to start trading in renminbis instead of dollars. And it would make sense as to why China's been lightening up and lightening up and lightening up. And again, that's got to go somewhere, and that somewhere is going to be here, which is actually, to Jason's point, it's inflationary, Jason. It's what it is.
Exactly, Joe. China's starting to put tanks in their streets again. Kind of like Tiananmen Square in 1989. That's how serious it's getting over there. The interesting thing about the Chinese property crash that's happening right now, Joe, our property crash, at least when people stopped paying on the houses, there was an asset sitting there. With China, they're defaulting on property. There's no property there. A lot of these homes are the ones that were supposed to be built in the future. The banks are going to crash in China.
Or maybe the shell of the building's up, but yeah, these aren't completed assets.
No, and they have a, what is it? 60, I forget how much, 29 trillion or 30-something trillion dollars in properties, whereas America only had about 14 or 15 trillion back in 2008. It's double the size or triple the size. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's massive, massive. And China's going to do whatever it can to survive this thing that's happening, and they'll just throw dollars right back at our face if they need to. And I think that's why a lot of properties are being bought up by, we say it's BlackRock, but who is inside of BlackRock? Where's that money coming from? I get the feeling there's a lot of foreign money buying those properties up from, let's say, China, Saudi Arabia, Russia, putting money in BlackRock and buying up American properties.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we talked about the Saudi farmland deal here in Arizona the other day. And then, of course, the legislation, the spending, the IRS. I know a bunch of you have seen this, but it bears to be repeated. Now, they've taken this post down. But make no mistake about this. Just because they took the post down doesn't mean this isn't going to be the requirement. This was right from the IRS's website, jobs.irs.gov/resources/job. The IRS is hiring new special agents. The requirements includes a minimum 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours. You got to be on call 24/7. So here's the good news. I guess the younger kids, they're out, right? Oh, wait. I got to work how many hours? And irregular, and I got to be on call? Yeah, no, I'm not applying for that. By the way, it includes holidays and weekends. And here was the part that caught everyone's attention. Carry a firearm. Now, that in itself is like, what? Wait a minute. You're an accountant. You're a bean counter. You're looking for tax evasion. Well, you got to carry a firearm. But listen to the next part of this. This is the job description. Carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. This was the job description on the IRS's website. I believe once it became public, they took it down on Wednesday, Jason.
Sounds like those jokers in the airports. They're trying to get a whole other league of those guys, over-policed non-police officers, right?
And again, think about this. First of all, who in their right mind would put this in the job description, number one, right? Right, like, what clowns? Yeah, throw that in there, right? Yeah, by the way, you got to carry a gun. You got to be able to use deadly force. And this is our government. The Democrats all got together to get this legislation through. This is a whole lot more than just hiring some IRS agents, Jason.
Well, it sounds like they're hiring security, Joe. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like they're hiring a police force for the IRS. That's what that sounds like. You can say it however you want, but carrying a firearm and using deadly force, that doesn't mean that has to be the IRS agent that's doing the collecting, right? That could just be security. That's interesting. That sounds like a whole new level of so-called enforcement, which is what that government lady was saying on the news a couple days ago.
Yeah, and again, listen to this. So here's the next line. Be willing and able to participate in arrest, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. Wonder what.
Oh boy!
What would fall into other? But here they are. I mean, think about this: executing search warrants, right? Participating in arrest, carrying firearms, using lethal force. That sure sounds like police to me, Jason.
What it sounds like from the very beginning thing you read, that's the only thing that's going through my mind is, this sounds like they need some security and some enforcement, law enforcement officers to carry out whatever they're getting ready to do, Joe.
Now I wanna lay out for everybody, because I think this is important to understand. How much money do they think this is going to raise? Now, we know it won't raise what they said. But how much are they gaining? Now, remember, they're spending $80 billion. They're saying that they hope that they will be able to collect $124 billion in federal revenue from tax cheats over the next decade. So we're doing all of this. right? We're hiring all these agents. We're arming them. We're telling them they got to be prepared to use deadly force, be able to execute warrants and participate in arrest in the hopes of maybe, if we're lucky. Now that's assuming, number one, you don't overspend the $80 billion. And number two, you reach your goal, which they never have, Jason, for maybe $44 billion net gain in a 10-year period, or basically say we're doing this for about $4 billion a year. By the way, the government spent more than $4 billion in me saying that sentence.
Yeah, it kind of smells of desperation, doesn't it? Every penny's going to count from somewhere here on out, right? That sounds desperate, Joe. Sounds like they really. And the other thing is, it sounds like they just really need people to know how serious federal income tax is going to be from here on out. How they don't want anybody cheating.
I think. Let me tell you right now. That's the point. How serious they're going to take taking your money away from you. That's the point. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold's up 617.98. Gold's been right here all week, it seems like. Right near, right at that 1800. Of course, no one really is paying attention to the August contract. Most people now are focused at the December contract. That's sitting at 1813. Silver right now, $20.54.
Joe, let me before you get into, can I play like a 2-minute piece? Because we were covering that IRS thing, and this is something I've been wanting to do. It's interesting. I've recorded this James Traffic.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, this James Traffic speech is something I put on our physically. I grabbed it a couple of years ago. Now you can't find it. It's very interesting. Now it's a long speech from 2012, but there's a piece about he was really big on defending people from the IRS. Listen to what he says as Joe talks about arming the IRS. Let me. I got to get it just right here. So give me 1 second, Joe.
Well, he's.
Oh, almost got it, Joe. Here we go. All right, here we go. Listen to this.
Something for you. Family of 4 at dinner. 2 children under the age of 8. The wife says to the father, "John, call the accountant. I'm scared to death. We got our second notice from the IRS. We owe him $54,000. He said, "Martha, not at dinner. John, you keep putting it off. I'm scared. Don't you understand, John? I'm afraid. Martha, we don't owe that damn money. They're just pressuring us. I'm not going to pay it. John, call the accountant." I talked to him. He said he thinks he could settle it for $15,000. Do that for me, John. Let's get it behind us. I'm afraid. John pays the $15,000. He has to borrow it. If there's somebody making noises behind me, I'm getting worked up over that. The IRS comes before committees of Congress and says the only way we can collect the voluntary tax is with the element of fear. Fear. United States of America. Fear. The only way we can do business and get people to pay their taxes is fear. Think about that.
There you go, Joe. Doesn't that sound like arming the IRS and hiring 87,000 agents? I don't think there's going to be less fear about this whole thing, do you?
And again, I want to highlight how little money they actually expect to get. $124 billion over 10 years. They're going to spend 80. And again, we know what happens. Okay, you're saying 120. What are you really going to get? Why do I believe we're going to end up with maybe 50? Spent 80 to collect 50, but you've armed them because something bigger is at work here. Let me just give you some facts about this and how bad this really is. They say the army of IRS agents, according to Republicans, will do nothing but harass small business owners, which we know. And that includes all of you people, all the low income that they promised wouldn't happen. According to the data, Americans earning less than $75,000 a year, which is the vast majority of Americans. When you think about the tax-paying base, that's the overwhelming majority. They receive 60% of the audits. That's the math, 60%. I know a lot of people are like, what? Why are they auditing so many poor people? Well, because there's only so many people that make more than that, right? You know, the other, believe me, the other 40%, the IRS agent to taxpayer ratio is significantly less. But here's how it's going to work. They said based on what the IRS said, which is there'll be no discernible difference in the percentage of audits by dollar amount. So in other words, what this legislation didn't say, okay, IRS, we're going to give you all these agents, but they only can audit people making $400,000 or more. That was not in there. The head of the IRS has already said, listen, the percentages aren't changing. So here's what that means. People earning less than $75,000 will be subject to an additional 710,863 audits. Those making $1 million or more would be subject to an additional 52,295 audits. They said the total bill is going to increase audits by a total of $1.2 million, or 1.2 million more audits that are going to be done. By the way, the vast majority of it, 710,863 for under 75,000, 75,000 to 200, another 236,685 of the additional 1.2 million more audits. 950,000, essentially almost a million of the 1.2 will be done on people making less than $200,000 a year, Jason. And by the way, with their guns, with them ready to use deadly force.
And with a digital currency on the horizon, when that thing is put in, can you imagine the kind of tax laws that are going to be sprung out of nowhere? Which let's just say this: Joe sells me a couch, right? And I give him $300. Suddenly the IRS says, "Well, that's income," and since it's provable because everything is being looked at now, Joe has to pay. He has to pay taxes on that couch he sold Jason, and there will be no way to hide it. It should just be a private purchase, right, Joe? But why do I have the feeling that the types of things that are going to be taxed and there's no way to...
well, and again, it's going to be different enforcement, not just that, because you're right. They're doing that now, right? Anybody that's getting Zelled or Venmo'd or PayPal'd,
yep.
You're going to be subject to that stuff over $600. Now, though, think about it this way. Well, you went over your carbon footprint. Yeah, see... I know that you had the only house you could afford was 50 miles away from your job, and I understand you've got to drive to and from work every day, but you purchased way too much gas. So there's a carbon tax credit, right? I mean, just think about all the things that they can do with that digital currency to make sure all these IRS agents keep their jobs. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Jason, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. What do you think these agents are going to be doing?
Yep.
when the crash comes. And we get ready to eliminate most of the banks in this country and get ready to go to the digital currency. Remember, we shared with you the Bank of Australia saying, "Oh yeah, we're coming. We're getting ready here." So anywhere between 2025 and 2030. Martin Armstrong yesterday. Don't be surprised to see World War III as early as 2024. Talking about a stock market surprise in September. What do you think these agents are going to be doing? And this is why I keep telling everybody that this is, they really, God, you got to give them credit. They're so stinking good. They really stuck it to us with Dodd-Frank. They really did. And got everybody, all the Wall Street guys clapping up and down and what a great thing, and this is going to fix our problems. It had nothing to do with fixing any problem. What it had to do with is making sure, hey, the next time around, the government's not on the hook. Right? Because think about it. The government's like, hey, we can't add $19-20 trillion to the national debt overnight because that's probably what it's going to take. We need to make sure that the depositors are the one that's going to pay it. And the reality is, I don't know how many more times, Jason, I can say it, the FDIC insurance fund doesn't have the money. So that's a non-starter. That's I mean, you can say we can insure any amounts we want. Well, look at the last crash. Remember those reinsurers like AIG and the rest? Remember what happened to all of those companies? They all went out of business because they didn't have the money.
That's right, Joe.
And neither, right, Jason, and neither does the FDIC.
Well, and I think these 87,000 IRS agents, Joe, I think it's going more than just the situations in front of us. I think they're being trained for the next year, 2 years, 4 years. I mean, we haven't talked about universal basic income in a while, but that's still on the table. It's coming. And why do I get the feeling, that they need to have a lot more agents monitoring whatever new tax system is in place? And let's just give an example. We have such a massive, just a massively economic, stressful situation worldwide that people can't buy food and they can't pay rent. They don't want a whole country full of homeless people, right? So somehow you succumb to a new system where, hey, we'll inject the money you need for your rent. You have to report what your rent is. You have to inject whatever your food budget is, or maybe they just tell you what your food budget is, and they inject the money in when they see fit. And then it's like, well, you know what? It seems like the guy that's renting to you, he's got a little extra cheese. He's got a couple of buildings. Well, we'll make sure that we just take the money out of his account for some of your rent, since you can't even pay it at all. Joe. This is really the types of, and they're going to need a lot of IRS agents to be able to overlook these sorts of things in the future, Joe.
Yes, to determine what your fair share is.
Yep.
Right? To be able to go through and go through your accounts and look at your spending. That's the great thing with the digital currency. They'll now be able to see everything. Right now, you can't hide what you're doing, and we can go in and just be able to assess how much of that money you really get to have, because it's your new duty as an American to help out your neighbor. You know what? They're not as fortunate as you, and somebody's got to pay for it.
Yep. Yeah, Joe. It's gonna discourage home ownership as far as people who rent properties out. Hey, wait a minute. They're saying that I'm less poor than the other guys because I'm running properties, so I have to kick in a couple of $100. That's just going to be automatically withdrawn from me for my renters that are so poor they can't handle the bills. And it's always these kinds of controls, Joe. They always backfire. They always go the wrong direction. The controllers think that these are things that are socially responsible and it's going to really fix problems. It always backfires because people that have assets are going to figure out a way to hide them in any system, Joe.
You brought up a great point. There's a lot of people, because that's been, I would say, after the last housing crash, a lot of Americans, they've made some good money buying property, renting them out. I didn't even think about, hey, wait a minute. They want BlackRock to own the company, to own the houses, not the citizenry. Wouldn't that be a great way to get a bunch of Americans who had rental properties to get rid of them?
Yes. Yeah,
right?
And BlackRock, they're not going to take money out of BlackRock's pocket for their renters. No way.
Right? To get rid of them because, hey, oh yeah, I'm a landlord in this country now. All of a sudden, I've got to meet with the IRS guy every year to determine how much was too much, right? Well, gosh, I made too much money renting this property. I've got to give a bunch back so my tenants can get a piece of this universal basic income.
Well, Joe, you own the house, and now a chunk's been taken out of you to help support your renter, and you're in there fixing the plumbing and putting in a new dryer, and you're looking around, I was like, this ain't worth it. What am I doing? I'm doing the work to give it to somebody else? You're going to sell that property and walk away.
Absolutely.
These things are coming.
800-951-0592. Prices have been pretty steady all week as gold is sitting here just below $1,800. I know, Jason, I'm getting my first batch of those Trump rounds today. Have you seen yours yet?
I have not gotten mine yet, so I haven't seen them.
So I think yours are coming hopefully today as well. They're supposed to be fantastic. So if you've been waiting on those, they are going to be landing. Once we have them, we'll be calling everybody to pick them up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll check. Maybe on Monday we'll do it one more time. I'll have to see what the wholesalers have left. On the gold side of things, 10th ounce American Gold Eagles, $250 right now. Those are, I'm being told that there's no more 2022s that are going to be made. So that's what I'm being told today. We'll see. But Jason, once again, the mint seemingly having a problem making supply and demand meet each other.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about a lack of supply. And the fact that it's August and they're saying they're not making anymore, I never believe when I hear that when you say it, Joe, because they're obviously making them. But why do I feel like there's a billionaire in Texas that's buying them all?
And, that's the part we don't know, right? Is somebody already laid claim to whatever amount of 10th ounce of Gold Eagles are supposed to be made between now and the end of the year? But they're out there, but they're most likely just going to be back dates now, right, Jason? Yeah,
that's the way it's going to be. So, I mean, when it comes to silver or gold, it's always a good day to buy. You really don't lose. You're putting it somewhere to protect yourself from all the crazy stuff that Joe just brought on the air today, right, Joe? We bring the stories to you because you need to know why you're supposed to be holding this stuff.
Yeah, and again, this whole IRS thing, the more because, this is how it works. Who was it? Pelosi. Well, you got to pass the bill to actually see what's in it. And now we're starting to see what's in it. And it's a little disturbing. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised. Anybody surprised? Did I shock anybody that all that extra money, hey, by the way, we're going to audit the same percentages that we've always audited at, which generally means that, hey, guess what? 85% of all the extra audits are going to be done on people making less than $200,000. But they can just say, well, the percentage didn't change.
Yeah, that's, Oh, Joe, I'm getting ready for the next show at Half Empty Cup of Joe. I got a little distracted there, so I didn't hear that last thing you said. I'll have to fully admit.
Yeah, so, I was just saying, it's all a bunch of wordplay.
Yes,
we're going after the $400,000 guys. But then once the bill's passed, you find out, no, we're not changing the audit percentages.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're going to audit at the same levels that we've audited in the past, which just means 85% of all the audits, new audits, additional audits, which they say this bill, they're paying for an additional 1.2 million audits a year. Well, guess what? 1 million of those are going to be done for people making under $200,000. Yeah. How do you like us now? Patriot Radio News Hour. God bless everybody. Enjoy your weekend.